Outside tonight, you can see the snow is coming down and it's starting to make things pretty slick. So I want to start out with the latest tonight, talking to you about what you can expect. So hi, First Alert meteorologist Liz Braden here. I'm getting ready for our 11 p.m. newscast. So in case you miss anything, we on air here shortly, giving you a little bit more updates on that. But I figured I'd jump on here real quick to give you an update on roads and how things are looking so far. And as we can clearly see, things are starting to get pretty slick. I show you some of the INDOT cameras right now. They have a great network of cameras across the region, and you can see that the highways and the bridges are starting to pick up on some of the snow, getting pretty slick in some locations. This is the look at the overall weather system that's moving through the region, and it's really expansive. I mean, this thing is huge, stretching all the way from New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, all the way here to Indiana and Ohio, and slowly starting to push closer and closer to New England. So let's talk the latest on how things are looking with the snow right now. It was lighter a few hours ago, and now we're starting to pick up with some of that snow. In fact, you can see it's mostly widespread across 21 country. We're starting to very slowly fill in with the snow a little bit more in LaGrange and Steuben counties, but that may take us just a little bit of time. Over the course of the night tonight and into tomorrow, I expect snow to pick up, and that's why many of us are under that winter storm warning because of treacherous travel conditions, not only locally, but across the region, which almost the entire state of Indiana, but the entire state of Ohio is under that winter storm warning for slick conditions. It's just a great opportunity to stay in if you can. Here's a look at future track as I plan out the rest of the night for you. You can see snow's expected to be fairly widespread, and that's going to last into tomorrow too. Tomorrow, you notice all of that snow looking to be fairly widespread across the region. It's about 7 a.m. on future track, and you can see just how the snow really isn't letting up. So as you're thinking ahead to things like Sunday morning services, just know it's probably going to be pretty slick, and we already have a lot of churches that have either closed or switched over to streaming services or anything else. And you can find that full list on our website, 21alivenews.com. Now let me walk you through the rest of the day. In the morning, you'll wake up to a few inches of snow, which is already going to make things slick and hard to come by. But I really expect the snow to pick up a lot more as we go through the evening and at night. And you can see it's about noon at this point tomorrow, and snow is still widespread. In the evening, we'll start to see this slowly shift a little bit more to the east, but it does take some time. By about 6:30, 7 p.m., you're starting to see that shift just a little bit more. Right around Fort Wayne, we're starting to wrap up with that snow, and Northwest Ohio wrapping up a little bit later on. Now, something beyond this snow for just the weekend I also want you to know about and not be too caught off guard with is Monday. Monday, when you are waking up and getting ready for work and kids are getting ready for school, we obviously need to think about how quick we can clean up the roads from tomorrow's snow. But on top of that, we have a little bit more snow with some lake effect snow on Monday. Mainly in the morning, it looks to be pretty on and off. And then as we go into the early part of the afternoon, it slowly begins to taper off. So how much can you expect? We're not shifting our thinking from earlier this evening. If you joined us for our 6 p.m. newscast, this is what I was showing, and I'll make this full screen for you just so you can see it a little bit easier. Most of Allen County, about 5 to 8 inches, and when you go southeast of that, about 7 to 10 inches. I think there could be several places in Adams County, Jay County, Mercer, Van Wert counties that get into the double digits. Now, could we see some portions of Allen County, say places like Monroeville, reach the double digits up to that 10-inch mark? I do think it's possible. I do think some isolated spots within that purple 5 to 8 could perhaps push double digits, but I think for most will be in that 5 to 8 range, which nonetheless is a good amount of snow, and you'll really want to take it slow for any of those plans you have. It's just a great day on Sunday to try to stay inside if you can, make it your chore day and just relax. I heard a lot of people say, man, I'm going to queue up Netflix, everything else, whatever you got to do to get through it. Now, I am thinking about your Sunday plans, and I know, of course, probably top of mind for a lot of people, including those closings we were talking about, are what things are going to look like for your church services. So if you're just joining us, again, we're talking about 5 to 8 for a lot of places, 7 to 10, when all is said and done. However, by tomorrow morning, we're about midway through things, and you're only expecting to see about maybe 2 to 4 inches on roads by 8 a.m. services, which is still going to make things slick, but then we have to keep in mind we get more stuff later on. just do yourself the favor of checking tonight and then checking tomorrow morning before you leave home for how things are looking with your church and whether or not they may be swapping to something untraditional like live streaming, or if they are closing, because I've heard a lot of churches, actually, we've been getting calls all day in the newsroom, closing or switching over to some of those streaming sites. I also want to briefly touch on not only just the snow we're dealing with, but also the cold. Now it is frigid. Maybe your kids are thinking about having a nice snow day, some snow angels, snow forts tomorrow, all the works. Well, keep in mind, it is just really freaking cold, man. We've got wind chills down in the negative double digits, a wind chill of -10 in Fort Wayne right now, and we're not going to see much reprieve from that. In fact, the next several days are going to be really, really cold, and we're not seeing too much of a break from that. So throughout the night tonight, going into tomorrow, still expect some sub-zero wind chills. And then we pick up with that again for the start of next work week. So as kids are getting ready for school on Monday, as mentioned, there could be a little bit of lake effect. And on top of it, some bitter wind chills, possibly down in the teens at times. In fact, for temperatures for the next several days, I'm not expecting us to get out of the teens. It may be a feat to even reach 20 degrees, let alone make it to freezing. And that is why I really emphasize with this snow that we're receiving tonight and tomorrow, it's going to be sticking around. We are really not warming up very much. So take some breaks as needed tomorrow to shovel the snow, snow blow the snow, whatever you're doing. There are a few things that help us out here. This is not a very wet, compressed snow. What that means is it's not the kind that's quite as heavy and really difficult on your back. This is going to be a lot lighter snow. In fact, right now, if I went out to my truck in the parking lot, I could easily use my windshield wipers and it would blow a lot of that off. So that's the nature that we have, but you also have to keep in mind, when you have fluffy, light snow like that, any little bit of wind will cause it to blow and drift. Now, I'm not expecting extreme winds over the course of the next 24 hours, but we will have a little bit of a breeze at times, and if you live in an open and rural area, you're going to want to keep an eye out for where that could become an issue. So if you're just joining us, let me walk through this one more time for you. Here's the snow that's already pretty widespread across the region, fairly light at the moment, but even that light snow is already sticking to roads, and I show you that with our in-dot cameras. These are some of the highways across Fort Wayne, and you can see things are starting to get snowy. Bridges and overpasses and on and off ramps are pretty slick. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had any big reports of accidents, but it's later at night. The bigger concern for me is going to come in when we are waking up, and tomorrow a lot of people are trying to get out for church services. So just keep in mind it's going to be a lot slower. If maybe there's a church that's closer to your home, maybe that's what you opt for, or if your church offers any live streaming services, that might be a way to go as well. Things are pretty slick right now, and even though it's not a lot of snow, it's just a good reminder not to underestimate that snow. Driving conditions will get worse as we go by about midday tomorrow. The afternoon in particular looks to be the worst when it comes to driving conditions tomorrow, and that likely will linger until Monday morning until we can really get a handle on this thing. I want you to know I'm keeping an eye on in-dot cameras and the in-dot plows, and they do have a lot of them out there, which is great news. They are working on roads, but with relentless snow in the forecast for tomorrow, road conditions will likely start to falter at times, and that's going to be something that you'll want to pay attention to. As we go through the next few hours, I'll show you one more loop of future track. Things are just staying really steady with that snow. Some heavy bursts of snow at times for tomorrow, particularly in the afternoon. And then as we go into the evening, that will start to let up. So you're probably asking, well, when's the snow done? Well, the snow system itself that we have for tomorrow wraps up closer to about 7 to 8 p.m. for many of us, but behind it, there's some lake effect snow. So not only Monday morning are you thinking about how much we have left from the weekend that we still need to clean off, but we'll get more on top of it with some lake effect here and there. Particularly that lake effect impacts places like northern Kosciuszko County, Whitley County, Noble County, and LaGrange County probably the most. The rest of us, though, will still have some on and off snow showers. Things are going to be cold for the next several days, so know that that snow is sticking around. Play it safe. Definitely have a nice, relaxing day inside tomorrow. If you can just avoid getting on the roads, that's going to be your best bet. Have a great night, and we will be live